biology. Horses are mammals. I hope everyone is happy that you came this morning, because to learn that kind of things, everyone should know that, obviously. So maybe some of you are already thinking, well, this is way too simple. But the fact that horses are terrestrial mammals is going to have an influence on how we understand their hoofs and how we're going to trim them later on. Okay? Here is another terrestrial mammal. You know it very well. Here's another one. Here is another one. All these guys, this guy you know very well. He's in the car. He's waiting for us for the end of this. This guy you know very well. This other mammal you know extremely well. Okay? These mammals have things in common, and they have obviously differences, but we're going to look into that. Here is the focus of today, the horse, but he's just another mammal among other terrestrial mammals. Okay? If we have a closer look at their feet, some of these mammals have 5 toes. That's the case of the elephant at the front. At the back they actually have 4. We have 5 toes with a nail at the end of it. The camel has 2 toes, what we call a 2-toed hoof. If we have a closer look at the dog, we can see 4 toes, a pad at the back of the foot, plus a nail at the end of each of the solar pads. And finally here, one that we know very, very well, and we even get a close-up of a human foot. It belongs to a beautiful woman that is actually present in the room today. So, pads, here we call it the heel, the sole, toes, there, 5 of them, plus a nail at the end of each toe. Okay, why is this going to be important? This is just the foot of another mammal. Now, what makes the specificity of equines? So equines, horses, donkeys, mules, zebras. What makes their specificity is that they have what we call a 1-toed hoof. So it's like, if you think about a hoof, when you observe a hoof, you want to basically see a finger or a toe. Okay? All the fingers through evolution came into one, and we have basically underneath 2 pads, and around it, we're going to go into detail just in a second, a nail. But when you visualize the hoof, you have to think about, okay, this is basically a finger covered by a nail. So, let's go into a little bit of vocabulary, and we're going to make things simple. Okay, because I believe that traditional vocabulary is extremely misleading. So, basically, from the outside, the hoof is made of 3 parts. The bottom of the hoof, we've got basically 2 pads. One is called the frog at the back. What a stupid name that is. Frog, we don't know why. Why is it called the frog? Stolen in Danish. In French we call it, literally translated, the fork, because it has the shape of a fork, yeah. Well, I like to call it the pad of the back of the foot, because that's what it is, it's a pad. At the front there, we've got another pad, you can see it there, and that's the sole. Okay, it has a solar shape or not. The sole, it's the pad of the front of the foot. And the bone here, P3/coffin bone / pedal bone / distal phalanx, has many names. We're talking about the very important bone that is within the hoof capsule. And as you can see there very clearly, it is sitting on top of these pads. So the quality of these pads, frog and sole, is going to make the horse comfortable or not. If these pads go thin, the horse is going to be sensitive. If they are undeveloped, if they are reduced to nothing, if they are thrushy and painful, the horse is not going to be comfortable, lending his whole skeleton, his whole body weight plus kinetic energy onto these pads. So that's going to be very important. And finally, we've got the wall. So that's basically what is covering the whole hoof. And you have the wall on the periphery. You've got the heels at the back, and you've got the bars coming in. The bars that are going to be here and then there. All that, in this course, I'm going to refer to it as the nail. Because that's what it is. It's the nail of the horse's finger. And this is going to help us to understand how the hoof is functioning, and obviously how to trim it a little bit later. One pad at the back of the foot, one pad at the front of the foot, and then a nail that we see barely on this one because it's very short. From the outside, this really looks like a nail. That's what it is, it's a nail. A little bit more vocabulary. So, we've got these three parts on the outside of the foot: frog, sole, and then wall. The connection, the junction between the frog and the sole is going to be a very important part of the hoof right there, called the collateral grooves. Inside there, so connecting the frog here all around to the sole. So that will be, and we'll see that on a real horse a little bit later, that will be the junction here that is running between the frog and the sole. Very important part of the hoof. And then the second junction that we have is going to be the junction between the sole and the nail. Okay? And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, and I want to make things clear to start with. Here you've got your sole. Here you've got your wall. And the wall is made out of two things. The outer wall right there that is a little bit darker, and then a white zone right there. That is still part of the wall, but that is unpigmented, so that's why it's white. Okay? Between the sole here and these two parts, that is just the wall here, you've got a junction, and that is the golden line. Why do I call it golden? Because it is golden. In anatomy books, and when you hear most professionals talking about it, they're going to talk about the white line. Super confusing, because you're going to think maybe, here's the white line. No. Actually, the white line is not white. It is golden, and you're going to find on some horses that is even more yellow than this. So very important. This should not be mistaken for the white line. When you hear about white line disease, super confusing. How do you want the poor horse owner to actually understand anything about it? Because they're talking about white line disease. It's a part of the hoof that is not even white, and it's not a disease. It's a bacteria. This should be helping us to just a little bit of vocabulary so we know what we're talking about when we talk about the hoof to start with. I'll just wrap up the first thing. Horses are mammals. Why is it important? Because horses, just like dogs and humans, walk on some sort of pad. And then they have a nail that has a function, that has many functions, that I'm going to cover a little bit later on. But they walk on their pads, just like we do, just like dogs do. They don't walk on their nail. You have a few animals on planet Earth that walk on their nails, and they are reptiles. There are no mammals on planet Earth that walk on their nails. That's super important for how we're going to understand the hoof and how to trim it.